Home sellers, what if I told you the three most common seller mistakes in 2026 are also the three most expensive mistakes you can make, and all are 100% completely avoidable? We've sold over 2,500 homes, roughly 50 times more than the average realtor, and today I'm going to walk you through the real reasons sellers lose tens of thousands of dollars before they ever get their first showing. This is how we do it, so stick around and we'll show you how to avoid the biggest budget killers in real estate and walk away with every dollar that you deserve. All right, here we go. Welcome to Talking Realty, the podcast for home sellers who want to make more money, save time, and avoid headaches. I'm Glen, realtor and founder of the Ohio Property Group, where we do the same things as traditional realtors, but instead of charging 6%, we charge a low, flat fee. So you keep a lot more money and you still get better results. Check out the free seller tools at talkingrealty.com. And if you love the show, hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get to it. Home sellers, as some of you know, I have a very good relationship with my family physician. We see each other a couple times a year, and it's one of the most predictable meetings you can imagine. So I go in with this big stack of test results. She's big on testing of all kinds. So a few days before the appointment, I run down to the lab. They take like a ridiculous amount of blood and fluids, and then they send me all the results. And I don't do anything with them until I get there. So she says the same thing every time she goes through them one by one and says, "Oh my gosh, everything looks great." I say to her, then, this is part of the dance, that I would like to lose some weight. And she says, well, to do that, you need to eat less, you need to eat better, and you need to exercise more. Okay. And I thank her for this unbelievable advice. And then immediately I do nothing. And then 6 months later, we do the same dance and we both act like it's the first time we've ever done it. This is exactly how things go with me and many, many, many of the Ohio home sellers I meet every week. They tell me they want to sell now, they want to sell for top dollar, minimum headaches, and I give them all the exact same advice. And the good news is some of them listen. And those who don't are at least kind enough not to act shocked like I do every 6 months at my doctor's appointment when things didn't go to plan. So today I'm going to give all home sellers my sage advice on how to avoid the top three seller mistakes in 2026. And here's a hint. They're the same mistakes as home sellers were making in 2000 when I first became a realtor. As they say, some of us need to be educated and some of us just need to be reminded. Whichever camp you fall into, how about I help you make more money, save more time, and avoid lots and lots and lots of predictable headaches? Sound good? Mistake number one, and I know you'll all be dumbfounded as I say these words, but most expensive mistake home sellers make in 2026. I wish I had a drum roll or some sort of something to build all the tension because you're not going to believe this. But mistake number one is overpricing the home, and I quote, to leave room for negotiation. Wow, I hear this one so much. It's still the number one mistake. It's been the category leader for as long as I've been a realtor. And it honestly belongs in the mistake hall of fame if there were such a thing. I think Canton might be building one, just a little add on to the Rock Hall. I don't know. Anyway, sellers imagine that negotiating the sale of their home is like buying a car. We haggle, we pretend to walk away, we want to talk to the manager, whoever that might be, maybe a spouse or a parent that's involved or something, and we pretend there's just no way we can do any better. And then when both parties are completely exhausted, we make a deal. But real estate buyers behave differently because they don't negotiate with overpriced homes. They typically avoid them because they know they can choose from all the homes. Overpricing creates three separate problems for you. Number one, you get the loss of early momentum. When a property first hits the market, it's I always say it's nearly impossible to recreate the buzz you get when you first pop on the market. We can try to do this with our rebound tactics if a deal falls apart, but I will say it's definitely an extreme effort. There's a lot of natural momentum that comes with a house first going on the market. The other second problem, we'll say, is a loss of traffic because you're going to miss the buyer pool overlap that happens when you price a property aggressively, which is what we recommend. You're going to get the people who are shopping above you and some of the people who are shopping at your price range. But in all cases, we need more buyers, because if we want to create a bidding war, I need more than one interested party. And the other is the loss of perceived value. So 3 problems with overpricing: loss of momentum in the early portion of the listing, a loss of traffic overall, because you're appealing to a different, wrong, frankly, segment of buyers. And then you've also got the problem of, oh, if it's still sitting there, something must be wrong. And unless you're responding in kind with price adjustments or some sort of marketing shift, this is it. You're going to get crickets, and you're going to keep getting crickets, and your house isn't going to look any more attractive 30, 60, 90, 120 days from now than it does now. But overpricing forces you into downward pricing. So buyers kind of read that as weakness. Now, I would rather see you adjust early and often until we find the right number, because we can and have sparked bidding wars when we hit the right price. That may sound bizarre to you, but I'm telling you that when you get into the right price range, and frankly, when you get a little below the right price range, value shows up. But it's so much easier if I don't have the stigma of 3 or 4 price changes in 30, 45 days on the market hanging over my head. It is going to take a little bit of wind out of our sails. But the point of all this is that overpricing to leave room for negotiation, which is the header problem here, is not the way to go. That's not how you get top dollar. All right. The market never lies. Truth number 1, the market never lies, not ever. So how do we fix this? We fix this with what we call wow pricing. If you want average results, like average days on market, average list to sell price, which right now is running around 94, 93%. Catch that? So for every $100,000 sellers are asking, they're getting about 93 to 94% of that number. So if you want, average results, an average buyer, average days on market. So if you're running, 40, 50, 60 days on market in your particular neighborhood, then expect to get an average offer in about, 40, 50, 60 days from an average buyer. That's what you'll get, because that's what average pricing gets. And frankly, the market is littered with overpriced and average priced properties. But if you want to get top dollar, and you want to get it sooner than later, you need to deploy our wow pricing strategy. Take the lowest number that you could take. I know it's like stepping off the ledge when you're bungee jumping, but trust me, the cable will hold. If you want the top dollar, you need to take the lowest possible number that you could stomach, stick it out there. Because one of 2 things are going to happen. If I'm right and you're right, then you're going to get the highest offer with the best terms from the strongest buyer, because you started below market value. Assuming that your bottom number is truly below market value, you will start a bidding war, and then the buyers will fight it out, and the best buyer will win with the strongest possible terms that you're going to get today. This is literally the only way to get top dollar for your home. And I can't start a bidding war. Now, we're very good at what we do here, but we can't start a bidding war on an overpriced property. And the only way to get the tippy top of market value is through a bidding war. So just like the old auctioneers do, I want you to start low and let the games begin. By the way, if you do price it to the lowest you can handle, this is the other thing that could happen, and it doesn't spark a bidding war, it just means either you have terrible marketing, that's a teaser, we'll come up to that one here in a minute, or you were probably still too high. Because truth number 1, the market doesn't lie, not ever. And truth number 2, while we're at it, if it's not selling, it's overpriced. Hey folks, almost every seller I know has at least a few questions about the process, which is why we offer a totally free, no obligation, one-on-one strategy call for anyone with a property to sell in Ohio. On that call, we're going to help you plan your listing launch. We're going to nail down your price. We're going to make sure you're ready for offers and inspections and appraisals, and hopefully help you get a bidding war off the ground. Check the show notes, the YouTube comments, or just head over to talkingrealty.com and book your free call right now. Seriously, hit pause, go do it now, and I'll talk to you soon. Let's get you on the right track. All right, back to the show. So mistake number 2, failing to disclose. We call this the lawsuit starter kit. I used to call it the deal killer starter kit, but I've now escalated. It is now the lawsuit starter kit. And I got to tell you, I am just constantly amazed that I'm still running into this after all the gum flapping I have done about this. I can't believe that there are still sellers out there in 2026 who think they're going to have a problem, know about the problem, not disclose the problem, and that nobody's ever going to find out about it. Forget it. All right. I'm not holding you accountable for not knowing about a problem, because you don't know what you don't know. But if you know about a problem, even if you fixed it in the state of Ohio, if it's happened in the last 5 or 6 years, you need to disclose it. And frankly, forget about need. You should disclose it, because not only is it the right thing to do, it's going to make you more money, which is what we care about. So buyers have just built in, baked in fear of being made a sucker. Buyers fear being fooled more than they fear any problem with the house. The timing of when problems come out matters greatly here. So, for example, if you fix or disclose a problem before you sell it, no clock, no pressure, no buyer to lose. We have a situation going on with some knob and tube wiring. Okay. Well, during the inspection, it comes out that there is still it's an old house. So there's a little bit of knob and tube wiring buried somewhere in the wall or in the attic or something like that. And the inspector came across it and called it out in the report. Well, here we are. We're on the clock. And now time's a ticking. And we got to get an electrician out there. And we got to get them out there probably in not such a great time of year, it's probably a weekend, add all these things up. In other words, we don't have all day. So we got to get whoever's available out here that can get here the quickest and get me a quote. Well, does that sound like a recipe for the best possible deal to deal with this? No, of course not, because you're in a hurry and you've got eyeballs from the buyer and the buyer agent. Everybody's watching, the lender's watching, everybody's watching to see what you're going to do. But if you do this before you sell, there's no clock, there's no pressure, there's no buyer to lose, there's no lender to aggravate or have the underwriter ask for specific things, which are usually not cheap. When you discover this by, some sort of pre-inspection, you're going to have plenty of time to get quotes from the best people, most reasonable people. They know you're not on the clock. If the problem comes out after closing, well, just call a lawyer. Just call a lawyer, because you're going to court, as they say. I like to compare this to dating. If you've ever, maybe you have a date coming up and you've got, we'll call it a checkered past, and it comes out to your love interest. There are 3 points where that can happen in my world for the purposes of this illustration. The first date, that's a great time. So if you tell them about it on the first date, either they get up and walk out and you're out half of dinner. Okay, you can take leftovers home. It's not a total loss. Or they're like, wow, thank you for telling me. I really appreciate that. Maybe they have a few questions. Maybe they don't. But when they move forward with the second date, guess what? The monkey is off your back. The skeleton's out of the closet. It's no longer this big, terrifying thing, because you have now been upfront and straightforward. And that person, if they're cool with it, it's never going to be a problem again. Well, let's say you decide not to tell them. You know about it and you decide not to tell them. So the next time it comes out, let's say it's right around the wedding. Okay, the weddings, everybody's fired up. The invitations have been sent, the caterers, all the deposits are out. And then it comes out. I don't know, somebody did a background check, maybe, who knows? But you didn't bring the information forward, which is key. Someone else found it and took it to your beloved. And then what, right? You're out all those deposits. It's a very expensive, very painful process. The wedding is probably off. This person's never going to speak to you again in all likelihood. And all because you didn't tell them about it ahead of time. Let's keep going. You get married, it doesn't come out. Several years later, you got kids, right? You got a nice little house, and then it comes out through some weird fluke. It comes out that you had a checkered past. You not only didn't tell this person, but you married them and had kids with them. Well, in that case, just like our earlier one, call a lawyer. Call a lawyer, because you're not going to be married for much longer. So just like spouses, buyers can often, and do often, overlook issues if you reveal them, or disclose them in this case, early in the process. What they can't forgive is when they think, right or wrong, when they think that you tried to hide it from them, because it's the old, well, if you're hiding this, What else are you hiding? So the three most important words to avoid this very, very expensive mistake is disclose, disclose, disclose. Be as detailed and as upfront with your buyer in writing on the Ohio property disclosure form as you can. If you can't fix it, that's fine. If it's something that's really horrible and expensive, tell them about it. And if you're really smart, before you put it on the market, take your time, get a couple of quotes, pick the best one, and give that to them at the same time and say, listen, we priced it because we knew the furnace had this problem or the chimney had this problem. We knew. And here's a quote from somebody who will fix that problem. No more question marks. If the buyer moves forward, great. We don't have to deal with it again. If the buyer chooses not to, great. They were going to waste your time, or you were going to waste their time, and it was going to get ugly at some point anyway. Home sellers, this episode of Talking Realty is brought to you by our friends at Associates Title. This team is shaking things up by focusing on what truly matters, putting you, the customer, first. Whether you're buying or selling or investing, whether you're for sale by owner, whether you're working with a realtor, doesn't matter. They've got your back with incredible cost savings and the latest technology to streamline the process. Their secure online portal keeps everyone in the loop, from buyers and sellers to lenders to agents, all while keeping your data safe and communication crystal clear. If you're getting ready to make a move, don't underestimate the importance of having a great title company in your corner. Check them out today at associatestitleinc.com or call my friend Ryan Phillips at 614-419-2418. Remember, they're not just in Ohio, they're in a lot of states. So give them a call, but do not leave your title company choice to chance. And definitely don't let the buyer or their agent make that choice for you. All right, back to the show. All right, mistake number 3 in 2026 that home sellers continue to make is poor marketing. I call this the slow drip problem. For sale by owners fall into this category. Even some agents make this mistake. And a bit of a rant here. There's a new trend that is compounding this problem. There are real estate companies out there who shall remain nameless, who are selling this idea that we're not going to put your house out there. We're going to list it, and we're going to only expose it to our select buyers within our company. This is real. This is real. Look for, well, I said they remain nameless, but they're out there. You won't have any trouble finding them. There are very, very large companies, real estate companies that you've probably heard of, that are making this pitch in your living room when they're listing your house. Hey, I got this great idea for you. Let's take your house, and our job is to market your house to the broadest possible market so that we can drive prices up, i.e. mistake number 1, we overpriced it. We lowered our buyer pool. Let's just purposely not market the property the way we should. We're just going to show it to a few select buyers in our company. Well, why in the world are they doing this? They're saying they're doing it for privacy reasons. Well, I don't know too many sellers. I could count two sellers in the last 25 years that have had a legit privacy concern. And I've talked about them before, but I won't get into it here. But outside of those two, the other thousands and thousands and thousands of homes we've listed and sold, they understand that when you put your house on the market, it's not a privacy concern. Privacy is not your number 1 concern. I did a whole episode on safety and security if that's your worry. But in terms of selling your house, you need to let people know if you want to get top dollar. Just saying. And if you do care, why in the world would you list it in the first place? Just sell it quietly to a friend or a neighbor or do something, whatever. But anyway, I digress. So for sale by owners, and then these unscrupulous agents who are claiming we're protecting your privacy by not telling the world about it, what they're really doing is they're trying to protect their commission. Because if they don't have to share that commission with someone outside their company, well, they make more money. End of story. The whole company makes more money. Because if I sell my house, my listing myself, I get to what's called double end the listing. So I get to keep the whole 6%. And oh, by the way, I become a dual agent and I do nothing for nobody, because legally a dual agent can't advocate for buyer or seller. It's a horrible waste. You pay twice as much for none of the work. It's awful. I think it should be illegal, but whatever. So regardless of why, not marketing the home properly is a huge, expensive mistake. So let me give you an example. You know those little fun-sized candy bars? I do, right? You heard me talk about my doctor. My doctor knows I know about these things. But anyway, what if I gave you just one little fun-sized candy every day? And it's just this nice thing that we have. And then I did it for an entire year. What would be the impact? Probably not much. Maybe it impacts your sugar. Maybe it impacts your weight a little bit. But what if, just stay with me, what if somehow I convinced you to eat 365 of these, i.e. 1 year's worth? What if I somehow convinced you to eat 365 fun-sized candy bars all in one sitting? Now, my guess is you'd remember that event for a very long time. I don't think it would be pleasant, but it would definitely not be a forgettable event. Well, this is like your home sale. Instead of launching everything at once, some sellers decide they're going to drip their way into the marketing process, one little patient piece of chocolate at a time. We're going to put up a sign. Okay, there's piece of candy number one. We're going to wait a few days and see what happens. Then, about a week or two later, we're going to navigate through the shark-infested waters of trying to get my house on the for sale by owner section of Zillow or some other sketchy FSBO website. And they're only going to use one exterior photo because the inside's not quite ready. Okay, so another week or two goes by. And then we finally get around to putting up the rest of the interior photos. Okay, great, excellent. Now we're a month in. I've got a sign. I've got 2 weeks of maybe being on Zillow with one photo. Then I've got another 2 or 3 weeks of having the interior photos. And then a week or two later, we decide the weather is perfect. Let's do an open house. And that doesn't do anything. So a few weeks later, we go ahead and we pay some agent 6% to put it in the MLS. See what I mean? You've now blown a couple of months and you've eaten a handful of candy and you got nothing. This destroys all your momentum. I prefer, this is our fix, the shock and awe method of launch. All the marketing all at once. I want you to drop the sign. I want you to put it in the MLS, announce an open house, have all of your photos ready to go. You can have balloons and you can have candy. You can even have one of those wacky inflatable guys, whatever. But this must feel like a party, a circus, that everywhere a potential buyer turns, there's your house. Every website they go on, there's your house. They drive down the street, there's a little sign pointing saying, hey, there's a house down that road. They get there, there's your house. How cool would that be? They have to feel like everywhere they turn, it's your property. Buyers must feel like they're about to miss out if they don't do something. This is what sparks bidding wars, assuming you're priced correctly and didn't commit sin number one. In the first few days of your marketing, when buyers see everything everywhere and it's priced wow pricing, your buyers are going to be paralyzed with fear. All of a sudden, all their excuses, well, we just started looking, or, oh, I had to work that day. I can't get to it till Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, or blah, blah, blah. They will clear the decks, get grandma to sit, whatever they have to do to get out and see that house. Well, here's what's cool. When they get there, they're going to see all the other buyers that have fear of missing out. And that is, now we are setting up the perfect environment for a bidding war. This is one of the most expensive mistakes because when you fail to market shock and awe, you also fail to capitalize on all that momentum of buyers becoming overwhelmed with fear that they're going to miss out on that property and then running into each other at that first open house, which is part of our buyer feeding frenzy playbook. Remember, you get one launch, you get one initial launch, so don't waste it. So today we've covered 3 things. Mistake number 1, overpricing. So get yourself some wow pricing and give us a call. We book free calls with home sellers in Ohio all the time. So book your free call. I will personally take you through your pricing plan. I'll pull comps. I'll walk you through everything you need to know so that you can set a proper price, whether you list with us or not. Mistake number 2, failure to disclose. Yes, fix and or disclose everything. Trust me, so your buyers will trust you, and you will do all of this before you launch your marketing, all of this. And mistake number 3, poor marketing. Book a free call and let us design a shock and awe marketing plan for you. And with that, I'll let you get back to your day. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you learned a little something or maybe had a little bit of fun. The Talking Realty podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Property Group, a family-owned company where we sell homes for a low, flat fee. If you've got a question, you've got a guest or a topic that you'd like to see in a future episode, I would love to hear from you. just head to talkingrealty.com and say hello. Until next time, keep making smart moves in your real estate journey. For the Ohio Property Group, this is Glen Witten signing off. And remember, you can sell it. We can help.